Karen, how did that go? Did we get any questions in the chat?
We have had some. The first one that came through said, "This seems too good to be true."
I'm sorry, folks. I only laugh about that because that's probably one of the things that we hear. If if I told you how many times I hear that, you wouldn't believe me. And we know why you say that, because this is a very unique concept, and you'd be crazy if your first reaction wasn't, "This has got to be too good to be true." But let me tell you my answer to it. It is good, it is true, and we can prove it. In fact, we guarantee it because it's math, it's not magic. We literally guarantee the math behind the engine of that dashboard for the life of the program. And why is that? Bill referenced it. 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4. This isn't like drink this shake and you'll lose 20 pounds. I have no idea if that's going to work for you, but I do know that math does not lie, so we can guarantee it. Bear in mind, 20 years in this business with 80,000 plus clients and an A plus rating of the BBB and a 4.9 Trustpilot score. We've been doing this a while, and the average client is generally 16, 18, even 20% ahead of schedule after 1 year of using the system, because people start finding ways that they recognize what we call micro dollars, 10, 20, 30, maybe even 40, $50 that we wouldn't really think of being that critical, start saving you an extra 3 months, 6 months, a year or two. Remember what Christina said? She's expecting to make a little bit more money this year. She's not thinking about blowing it. She could if she wanted to, but she's saying, you know what? If I double down, I'm going to start gaming the system. I can take my 6.6 years down to 5.9 or 5.4. That gets exciting. You start actually getting reinvigorated for what you think is possible for your future. So, not an unusual question, Karen. It's probably the one that we've all heard the most, but we're proud to say that it is good, it is true, and we can prove it.
Very true. Another one is it complicated to use? How hard is it to learn?
Well, I think that's a very fair question. So I'm going to give you a response to say it this way. Remember, our youngest client is 18, but that wouldn't surprise all of us because probably all of our children and grandkids are way more tech savvy than us. But our oldest is 84. 84, okay? Probably doubtful that the average 80 plus year old is super, super tech savvy, right? My mom is 10 years younger than that, and she is not tech savvy, okay? She will tell you that. But here's my answer to you. If you have a cell phone, if you have a smartphone, or even if you don't have a smartphone and you know how to text somebody, you have social media, right? You could type in an address on the GPS on your phone, and or you have online banking. You can use our system. It's very intuitive. Everything has a little bit of a learning curve, of course. There's some unique features and functionality. You can't always do what you've always done because you know you'll get exactly what you've gotten, right? So there's a little different way of thinking. But for most people, it doesn't take more than about 30 days or so to get comfortable with it. Most people don't even log onto their account more than maybe once or twice a week, maybe 10 or 15 minutes at the most. Some people log on once a month. Maybe there's not that much changing. Maybe they're a little bit older. Maybe they're on a fixed income. There are some, Christina said it herself, she grew up with an engineer family, right? Where they log a pack of gum they just bought 5 minutes ago. So you can be as granular as you want or as general as you want. Just like GPS. Most people don't realize that GPS not only navigates you from point A to point B, and it defaults the route, but you can actually adjust the route to your preference. Shortest route, fastest route, avoid toll roads, avoid highways. The system is the same. You can be as detailed or as general as you want. But for most people, it isn't really necessary to log on for more than 10 or 15 minutes a week. Remember, you're not doing anything different than you're doing now. But now you've got this technology that's telling you to turn right in 200 feet, so to speak, with your finances. And when you don't turn right in 200 feet with your car with regular navigation, what does it do? Recalculate. Now it says you've got to turn right in 2.6 miles, but you added 3.9 minutes to your destination. Imagine a system that could help you do the same thing with your finances. Something unexpected happens. Maybe you found out you're pregnant, you didn't expect it. Or maybe you're going to take a trip with your family. Maybe any number of things can happen because life is not going to stop lifing. The system will adapt and evolve to every changing circumstance in your life. So we certainly are, very proud of those attributes. So it's not complicated to use. Some people might call and do one training and onboarding call. Some, Christina said, might do 4, 5, or 6. That's completely up to you. There's embedded videos in the system. You can actually directly message somebody. You can get on a Zoom and do another onboarding and training call. You've got access to a toll-free number and, of course, email. So we provide as much support as we can to help make it available. And we're going to stick with you every step of the way until you feel comfortable and you're well on your way to becoming debt-free for you and your family.
You. Another one is, if you've been around 20 years, how come I haven't heard of the MoneyMax account before?
Well, first of all, we don't do you don't see us on Super Bowl commercials, right? We're not able to do what we can for the average American family because most of how we have become known up until even the last couple of years is we have really run a groundswell movement. We have been a company that has actually gone directly to the public. And, we don't have 800 clients. We don't have 8,000 clients. We have 80,000 clients. So there's a lot of people using our program, but there's also over 300 people in America. But we don't spend a lot of money on advertising and marketing and that sort of thing because we would have to obviously build those additional costs to cover it into the system. And that's not what we're looking to do. In fact, when you buy the program, you literally have access to it for life. What do I mean by that? Well, if you buy a new car, you just add it to the system. You buy a new home, you add it to the system. You pay something off, you add something else. The system is going to evolve and adapt to you. Once you own it, there's no monthly subscription fees, there's no yearly renewal fees, there's no software upgrade fees. You get customer service for life. I don't know anything in our space in finance or technology that does that. But there also is another reason. And I hate to say it, but there's a reason that banks are the biggest building in any city, in any state, in any country in the world you go to. There's two reasons, really. One is the golden rule, but it's not the one you learned in church, as I so often say. He who has the gold makes the rules, right? Possession is 9/10. Banks have the money and they know what to do with it. Number two, they're constantly deploying your money and leveraging it to do what we talk about with Christy. Cancel interest, pay off debt, save and accumulate money. It's always looking for. So do you really think this is massively to the banks and the financial institutions' advantage for people to know this? Absolutely not, right? Because unfortunately, the system is gamed against the average consumer. Sure, if you have millions of dollars, there'll probably be a line of people around the street wanting to help you. High-end financial planners, advisors, accountants, things of that nature. But for the average American family, that is not the case. So our goal is to actually take this technology from Wall Street and make it available on Main Street. Literally allow the average person to bank like a bank at the push of a button. And we're very, very passionate about that goal. And that's why you'll see that our kind of credo, if you will, is to help buy back America one family at a time. And I'll say the middle American family. Again, I appreciate what Dave Ramsey's done. And if you want to live on ramen noodles and cardboard and put money in cash envelopes, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's about a small 10% or less subset of the market. Robert Kiyosaki, I've met him many times. I really respect him very much. He says leverage debt to the end of your life. However, he's also a billionaire. But the 80% of people in America, the 70 or 80% that swath that is the middle American family, these kind of things aren't made available to the average person because those that control the information, they control the content, they control the narrative and everything you see are trying to get you in debt and keep you in debt as long as possible. I was in the mortgage business almost 25 years. And every single time somebody refinances, even if it's a lower rate, note rate, 73% of the time they go right back to 30 years. So ask yourself, if you're adding 4, 5, 6, 8 years to the term of your payoff of your debt, is that to your advantage or is that to the banks? I think we both know the answer to that question. And there's cost involved. Could be 6, 8, 10, $12,000. If you increase the size of your debt obligation, is that to your advantage or the banks? Again, we all know the answer to that. But here's the one part most people don't know. Even if you went from, let's say, a 6% interest rate to a 4% interest rate, your note rate is lower, therefore your payment is lower, but the amount of interest volume you pay actually just went up. If you ever wonder to yourself, why would the bank want to refinance me at a lower interest rate if they make money by charging me interest? In fact, sometimes even the same bank would take you from a 6 or 7% rate to a 4 or 5% rate. You'd think, why would they possibly want to do that? Because it's not interest rate, It's how the interest is calculated, how the finance charges are assessed, and how when the payments are applied that dictates what we call true debt service costs, how much interest volume you're actually paying. You see, that's a different way of looking at it. We're used to looking at it two-dimensionally. 1 + 1 is 2. This is three-dimensionally. It's exponential, it's multiplication, and it's a completely different way of looking at it. And that is why we're so passionate about the educational side, about how money works, how debt works, and how to deploy this strategy. But the beautiful thing is, you don't have to know all these sophisticated concepts and theories and strategies because they're all built into the program. All these proven systems and strategies that banks have been using for decades to their advantage are built into the system. All these algorithms, all these factorial math engines that do all these calculations. If we all had to figure out how to put GPS in our phone, I think we'd be in trouble. Thank God some really smart people figured that out. And that's the exact same with our system. So you're right. Most of America doesn't really know who we are yet. But just give it a few more years and you're going to see an explosion as more and more people start realizing that being in debt is no fun. And debt free is the new sexy. That's going to be my new credo, right? That's what our goal is, to help people get out of debt. So give it some time. You're going to find as we go from 100,000 people to 1,000,000 users, you're going to start hearing about us more and more and more. But again, sadly, we're actually teaching the opposite of what most banks and financial institutions want you to know. I want to leave you one last thing to think about, okay? You get a little older and you start thinking about life a little bit more deeply. And my father, my natural father, has dementia pretty bad. And so my brother and I just spent some time with him, maybe the last time he remembers us. Very hard for me. You know, it's when you're dad, you think they're bulletproof, and it really puts you in touch with your own mortality. And I have a daughter who's 15, and I head up a men's charity group. And all those things really make me think about life. And I've made some good decisions financially, but that doesn't mean I've made good decisions in everything in my life. So I have regrets just like everybody on this call. Don't let this be one of them. Don't let fear be the reason that you hold yourself back. Because I can tell you one thing, a year from now, you're going to think one of two things. One of two things. You're going to say, I'm glad I did, or I wish I had. So don't let this be another thing that you put on the back burner and kick down the road, because time is not waiting on you and nobody's coming to save us. So this is an opportunity for you to do something good for you. And we're happy to do anything we can to help you in that process.